Very few people are allowed up here into the inner sanctum. And it's somewhere in here, the family tree that, as a child, I drew up. But it could be anywhere else. I saw it a couple of years ago, because I know it's in somewhere inappropriate. I think it might have been a school project, or I think I was staying at my grandparents' and talking to them about what they remembered. Aha! This looks familiar. Family tree compiled, arranged and laid by Julian Peter McDonald Clary. That's the one. Shall we take it downstairs? And I've never had the 3 cameramen in my bedroom before. Not at once, anyway. There are all these lives going on here that there's a coachload of people that are my not very distant relatives. Some of whom I remember with Auntie Maud and Auntie Ivy sitting in their porches on the Isle of Wight, and as a child when we would visit. But there are lots of people that I just don't know anything about. Don't know anything about my grandfather, who's here. Jack. He's in full Air Force drag with his hat at a jaunty angle. But he might have smiled a bit. It's sad. I mean, it's sad that he died so young and he didn't get to know me. How awful for him. Oh, and vice versa, of course. I've left it a bit late, but I would like to get to know him. And I feel like a detective on the hunt. Who was this man? And I wonder what he'd have made of me. Been horrified, probably. We're going to go and see my father and my mother and talk to them about my grandfather. But my father objects to glamour wear for Valerie because I'm going to leave her there for a few days, and he doesn't like to see her in the glamour wear. He gets embarrassed when he walks around the streets of Swindon. So she's wearing much more doggy kind of look now. It won't embarrass anyone, will you? A holiday of a lifetime in Swindon.
Julian Clary is the youngest of 3 children. They grew up in Teddington with their parents, Peter and Brenda, who now live in Wiltshire.
Hello. I'm a cat on a table.
Cat on a table.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Well.
Hello.
Have a good journey.
Happen to have a film crew with me. Oh, my bag. Here we are. Because I found this.
Is this the one you did years ago?
Yes. Actually, when you look at this, we don't know much about anyone beyond here, do we?
No, nothing about them.
That's something you don't want us to find out.
Not that I know of, but I'm sure you'll tell me if you find something.
I think there'll be a writer or a poet, or there'll be a painter.
I don't think they could read and write beyond there. They were all country
There were exceptions. The people could. But I don't want you to find, if you don't mind, I don't want you to find any foreign. I'm very open-minded about people who come from other countries, but I don't think it's part of me.
Right.
The person Julian wants to investigate first is his paternal grandfather, Jack Clary, who died before Julian was born.
Well, here's you. You married Brenda
Oh, yes, 10 out of 10 for that.
in 19...
53.
And was your father there?
No, he was dead.
And what was he like, your father?
I never spent a lot of time with him or saw much of him. All of my life, he seemed to be away. Early on, he was ill, and through the war, he was in Northern Ireland and other places, so he wasn't at home except on leave occasionally.
When he was in the RAF in the Second World War?
Yes, they gave him his rank back that he had from the First World War when he was a flight sergeant, and in the Royal Flying Corps, as it was then.
So was that quite an impressive thing for you to have a father in the RAF?
I thought he was part of the air crew, but then I realised he hadn't got the wings that you have on your... and that he actually sort of did the maintenance on them and happens to be standing next to one, and he never ever flew in them. He wasn't an air gunner or a pilot or anything so fancy. So that was a letdown for me. I imagined he was something more than he really was.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
And be nice to the dog.
I'll look after like she's my own, as you know.
I'm intrigued now. Now I've heard a bit more about him, and my appetite's been tweaked a bit. I don't know why. I didn't like to ask him, but he said about his father being ill. Did you hear that? He said he'd been ill, and then he worked in the Air Force, and then he got cancer. So I don't know what that illness was. I think my Auntie Doreen knows more than my father about their father.
Julian's grandfather, Jack Clary, served as chief mechanic with 48 Squadron during the First World War. Julian's arranged to meet his Aunt Doreen, Jack's daughter, at the Imperial War Museum, Duxford. She's brought her father's photo album from his days with the Royal Flying Corps.
I see lots of aeroplanes.
Oh, there it is.
It's much like you said. It's like
It is, isn't it?
bits of string.
It's canvas and string, isn't it?
Hello.
Good afternoon. I'm Peter Merton, one of our resident historians.
Peter, hello. This is my Aunt Doreen.
How do you do?
Delighted to meet you.
And
Thank you.
it's my grandfather we're trying to find out about, who in the First World War was...
The flight sergeant. He used to maintain them.
Yeah. Well, I understand he was with 48 Squadron,
That's right.
which, of course, was equipped with Bristol fighters.
Yes.
There's a picture of him leaning on an aeroplane somewhere.
Yeah.
That looks like that.
Yes,
Yes.
it is a Bristol fighter. Oh, excellent. Poses for the camera. That's a beautiful
That's
shot.
actually-
What would his working day have been like? What would he have been...
Would you like to come forward and then perhaps I can explain a little? By the standards of the day, this was quite a large aeroplane. It's significantly bigger than the sort of classic single-seat fighting Scouts.
There's no roof.
Ah, no.
What if it was raining?
Open cockpit.
He didn't fly them, did he?
His job critically was keeping the aeroplanes in the air and keeping guys like my grandfather, who was a scout pilot in the RFC, keeping him going and keeping him alive. It was very important.
As chief mechanic, Jack Clary played a vital role, leading the team of over 30 specialist engineers that kept the squadron's 12 Bristol fighters in the air. Jack and his men worked in all weathers and would frequently toil through the night to prepare the planes for their next mission. Based only a few miles behind the front line, dogfights were a common sight and air attacks a constant danger. While stationed at Bertongle in northern France, Jack Clary's squadron was subjected to a devastating German raid.
On the night of 25th August 1918, the Germans raided Bertongue, and it was very nasty indeed. Something like 200 casualties. it would have been for him and for the other people involved, it undoubtedly was a really violent, frightening, terrifying experience. And he lived through that. The squadron was effectively wiped out in terms of machines and in terms of aircrew. They had to withdraw from the front line and re-equip, and they were back in 2 days. They were back in the front line. Your grandfather would have contributed to that achievement.
Would he, for sure?
Yeah.
The only picture I had of my grandfather was literally a picture, you know, a couple of sepia photographs. And seeing the plane and having it explained exactly how grueling his working life was at that time, and how he must have been constantly in a state of fear, really. Well, I would have been. It's just so hard to imagine seeing your friends go off and not come back and so on. You do feel the need to touch things that he might have touched. I know a bit about the horror of World War I, but I've never placed anyone I knew or felt anything for in that situation. I feel I'm demystifying him. Yeah, bringing him to life.
At the end of the war, Jack Clary got a job as a skilled pipe turner at Dunhills. In 1925, he married Victoria Tiedemann, Julian's grandmother, and the couple had 2 children, Doreen and Peter, Julian's father.
The next stage of my grandfather's life, there's something was amiss. He was ill, I believe, and I'd like to be told about that. It's been mentioned several times, but not dwelt on that he was ill.
Well, I don't remember much of it, other than I know, I've been told later, he had a bad accident and he injured his left-hand thumb at work.
Right.
It turned septic and they had terrible trouble saving his hand and his thumb. But he suffered badly after his periods in hospital when he finally was physically better, mentally. I think, I'm assuming he had a sort of kind of mental breakdown.
This is at what age? After you were born?
Oh yes, he had the accident when I was 3. So it was between about 3 and 6, 2 or 3 years is a period. I vaguely remember him being in hospital. I can certainly remember going to visit him in a mental hospital at Knapsfield or Knapsford. I remember that.
He was that ill that he was hospitalised?
I mean, they used to do that with people in those days. They had these big mental hospitals, and he was in there for a long time.
I was a bit shocked. I mean, that I hadn't never been mentioned before. Maybe there was some stigma towards mental illness at that time, and that's why it's been kept quiet. I've had my moments of being depressed, and I know what it feels like, and I'm trying to think what it was like for him in the 1930s. But you do wonder if your feelings are the same as those of a blood relative, and that you're experiencing the same sort of very black despair that you don't think you can find a way out of. In this day and age, you get a nice packet of Prozac. You don't get locked away, fortunately. Now I know where my grandfather was locked away, effectively, Knapsbury Hospital. I thought I'd go and have a look at it. I feel a bit like I'm going to visit a sick relative. I've put a nice shirt on for him. But I don't know what I expect. I imagine it was quite primitive, and I'm imagining there was no real need for him to be there. I imagine that it was, you know, hiding away people who weren't quite right rather than actually treating them, but I don't know any of that. I might be mixing up the 1930s with the 1850s. It doesn't look too scarily Victorian. Obviously now being turned into luxury flats.
Julian's meeting Marjorie Wallace, chairwoman of SANE and an expert on mental health. He wants to know what sort of treatment Jack would have received.
Marjorie.
Hello, Julian.
Hello. How are you?
I'm all right.
This is Knapsbury Hospital that was.
Yes.
Okay. This is where my grandfather was from 19...
I've got the certificate if you like.
Oh,
see.
have you?
Right. This is when he was admitted. This is a hospital record.
Oh, wow.
So it says date of admission, 12th of August, 1936, and date of departure, April the 6th, 1938. So he was here during that period of time.
He was here a while.
Yes, but look what's really interesting. He was here not as a certified patient, like most of the other people that would have been here. He was here as a voluntary patient.
Right.
So he wanted to come here. He could have discharged himself at any time. And there were very, very few voluntary patients. You see, it was only in 1930, the Mental Treatment Act, that people were allowed to be voluntary patients.
Attitudes towards mental health had changed following the First World War. Knapsbury Hospital had been used to treat soldiers suffering from shell shock. The devastating impact of this condition on thousands of men had forced a re-examination of the treatment of the mentally ill. By the time Jack arrived at Knapsbury in 1936, voluntary admission, outpatient clinics, and relatively progressive techniques had all been introduced.
They didn't actually have psychotherapy then, as we know it. I mean, there wasn't much in the way of counselling. That started much later, but there was a sort of social programme, and they just started the idea of occupational therapy. And they started introducing things like metalwork, and they would have a whole programme of events. So they felt that a person's day had to be structured, which is what they don't do now with many mentally ill people. They would have been able to go out into the grounds, those people who are voluntary, like him. And it was considered that being here and having some peace and quiet and looking around at the beautiful landscape would actually help heal the mind.
The feeling I get here is Jack must have felt isolated, really, even on a, you know, volunteered to be, but he chose to bring himself here, so he must have felt pretty bad. Now I feel I know him a bit, and I can see another part of me there. It's a very strange feeling, because it's all in the past, but it's amazing how he's come to life, and what you feel for someone that's been dead that long that you never knew. I thought it would be interesting to go back a generation, and there's Herman the German, my German great-grandfather. Unlike my grandfather Jack, who was fighting for king and country, here we have someone born on the other side of the fence.
Julian's always known about his father's German ancestry. Jack Clary married Victoria Tiedemann, the daughter of a German immigrant, Herman Tiedemann, and his English wife, Louisa Moles.
This is a photograph of Jack's wedding to Victoria, and quite a big do it looks like it was. And this is Louisa Moles. You wouldn't want to meet her on a dark night. A big-boned girl. with a big jaw and a rather severe side parting. Oh well. She managed to get someone to marry her, and it was Herman the German, who doesn't appear in this picture. Now, this is Herman. He looks like some sort of comedy figure in a silent movie to me. He looks a bit bewildered and a bit frail.
The 1901 census gives more detail about Louisa and Herman's lives.
Here we are, Herman Tiedemann. He was then living in Cornwall Cottages at number 42 in Islington. Cornwall Cottages sounds charming. And he was head of the family, I'm glad to hear it. He was a foreman, baker, bread maker, and he's German, but he's now a British subject in brackets. He lived with his wife, Louisa, who was 29 and churning out children. I don't feel any great connection with this man, or with his big hefty wife either. Nice eyes, I suppose.
Julian knows that Herman came to England as a child in the 1870s. During this period, Germans were the largest group of foreigners living in Britain and were well assimilated into all levels of society. But that all changed with the outbreak of the First World War in 1914. A wave of anti-German feelings swept across Britain. Newspapers demanded repatriation. German businesses were attacked. Even German dogs were stoned in the street. The government's response was to pass an Aliens Act, which required all German men of fighting age to be interned.
Rumour has it that he was interned during the war, and that sounds like quite a dramatic thing to happen. Did they come and haul him out of his front door, Cornwall Cottages, and chuck him on the Isle of Man or wherever it was? I'd like to know if we can find out if that happened and what it would be like to be interned, and what it was like being a German in England at that time.
To discover whether Herman was interned, Julian's meeting Peter Toohey, an expert on Anglo-German family history.
For some reason, I've got to meet him at Alexandra Palace, which is a mystery. You wouldn't mind French blood, I wouldn't mind Nigerian ancestors, that would be all quite exotic. German. I suppose it's a prejudice born of the war. Perhaps by the end of the day I'll be proud to know that I'm part German. Yes.
Alexandra Palace in North London was opened in 1873 as an exhibition centre. But during the First World War, it served a more sinister purpose.
Why have you brought me to this palatial setting?
Right. It's of particular interest for people from the German community in England because it's where a large number of them were interned during the First World War. It's the first time it ever happened in English history that people were interned just for being born somewhere or being of a different nationality.
Was it like being in prison?
It was, very much so, yeah. They were allowed visitors, but they were in prison, effectively, yeah.
What would they have been allowed to bring with them?
Probably a couple of changes of clothes and so forth. There's actually some pictures here of them in this hall here with their belongings.
We've got a picture up there of their loved ones.
Yes, indeed. So they were able to bring some things with them. It wasn't like a concentration camp.
Over 32,000 civilian men were interned in camps all over Britain. Their wives and children were left to fend for themselves.
So Herman Do we know where he ended up?
No. Unfortunately, all the records of internment in this country were destroyed in bombing in the Second World War. It's a bit ironic, but they were in Covent Garden and an incendiary bomb landed on them. So all 3 or 4 million cards were destroyed.
At the beginning of yesterday, I was slightly disdainful about having German connections, and then by the end of the day I was slightly embarrassed to be British when you found out how the Germans were treated.
Herman and Louisa's youngest daughter, Ivy, is still alive and lives on the Isle of Wight. Julian's visiting her to see if she knows whether Herman really was interned.
Flowers for Ivy.
Hello, Julian.
Hello.
I'm Joanne.
Are you a long-lost relative?
I am.
How are you?
Mwah. I'm fine. How are you? Lovely to meet you.
Very
Come
well,
through.
thank you.
This is my Nan Ivy.
Hello.
Hello, Julian.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I brought you flowers from Waterloo Station.
Oh, I love them.
There you go.
Oh, thanks ever so much.
Is this where I'm sitting?
Oh, thank you.
They're probably a bit thirsty because they've been on the road for a long
Joanne,
time.
could you get someone to put in the water for me, please?
You look well.
Yeah, well, I sit out there in the sun doing a bit of knitting, a bit of reading. What else is there to do?
Do you? It's lovely, isn't it?
I'm too old to get doing energetic stuff, aren't I? But I'm quite happy out there doing that.
Can I ask how old you are now?
91.
And would you say you look like your mother or your father?
Well, I don't know my father, so I can't ever tell, because I was only 3 when he died, you see.
Right.
And
This
that's
is the picture I've got of your father, of Herman.
Oh, I don't know. And this was him.
This was him.
That's lovely, isn't it?
He looks worried to death here, doesn't he?
He looks a bit scared.
This was him before he met my mother, I reckon.
Well, we've been tracing his story. He married your mother, and then when the First World War came along, he was interned.
Well, no, he was too ill. He was almost dying when the First World was. He died in a convalescent or something. He was too ill to go in a concentration camp or whatever they called it. I was always told that he was never interned because he was too ill, and he died in the hospital or wherever it was. That's all I could say about that.
What was wrong with him?
Consumption. He died of TB. In those days, consumption was a thing that nobody did anything about. It just there.
Herman died of tuberculosis in 1917, leaving his wife Louisa to bring up their 7 children alone.
What was your mother like?
Oh, I loved her. She was smashing, but she was always... I can only ever remember being ill, really, because she had this asthma and bronchitis. But very, very hard it was when we were children.
Was it?
She used to... when she was fit enough, in the summer, she did better because her chest didn't play up so much. She used to get the hotel job in the hotel washing up, you know, down King's Cross and round that way.
Did any aunts and uncles come and see you from Louisa's side? I just wondered what happened to
No,
her.
I think they must have disowned her as she married a German. I only surmise this. I know nothing about that, really.
Right.
But there were never any aunts or uncles ever came to see us. It was a bit rough, but I don't like talking about that very much, because we used to...
It's a long time ago.
I get about upset when we talk that far back, you know what I mean?
Oh, I don't want you to get upset.
So...
She's given me a lot to digest. It seems Herman never was interned because he was too ill, and then he died, leaving Louisa with quite a lot to worry about, intense poverty and barely able to feed the children, and with her own health failing. It's a mystery as to why she doesn't remember any relatives of her mother's being around. She seemed to think that they didn't like Herman for some reason, but why didn't they like him? Ivy's given me Herman and Louisa's wedding certificate from April the 2nd, 1893, spring wedding. Herman was 27, Louisa was 21. He's a baker. Ivy seemed to think that possibly there was some disapproval of Herman because he was German, but the anti-German feeling hadn't been whipped into a frenzy at that time, so that doesn't quite hang together as a theory.
If it wasn't because he was German, could the family's poverty have been the reason that Louisa's parents disapproved of her marriage to Herman? To find out more about the Tiedeman's circumstances, Julian is meeting Sue Donnelly to look at Charles Booth's poverty map.
Hello.
Hello.
Are you Sue?
I am. I'm the archivist here.
An archivist?
Yeah.
Hello there.
Hi.
Booth's 1898 map illustrates living conditions in London at the time Herman and Louisa were married.
What he did was gather a lot of information from all over London, and then he assigned each street a colour according to what he called its social condition. So it went from yellow, which you can see up here, which was wealthy and upper class, and it went down to black, which he defined in a very Victorian way as being vicious and semi-criminal. So you're looking for Cornwall Cottages, which is on Popham Street in Islington.
Is that black?
Black, dark blue and light blue.
It's not looking good, is it?
It's not looking good, I'm afraid. It basically means that the majority of people on that street were earning less than 21 shillings a week. And 21 shillings was the minimum that a family of 5 needed to live in. So nobody on that street was basically making the minimum wage.
Right. Within a few days, I've got quite a clear and rather grim picture of my great-grandparents. I didn't even know what either of them looked like, and when I first looked at that picture of Herman, and you sort of look into his eyes and wonder what he was looking so sheepish about, really, and also Louisa, when I looked at her picture, she looked. Now it's all explained. You know, she looked so sort of grim-faced, and but she had to be. It may be that Louisa's parents thought, you know, you made your decision and now you get on with it, and then at that time they had made some connection between poverty and immorality, and that's why the door was shut in her face. And but it's hard, you know, it's hard to come to terms with that. They couldn't have helped her a bit. Yes, you want to weep for them, really.
The next step is to find out whether Louisa came from a more affluent background than Herman.
I know from the census where Louisa was born, and it's Essex. I shall go to Essex now and have a route around then, find out a bit more about her early life, really. I mean, I know how it all ended up for my great-grandmother, but I'd like to find out about her early days. I've also got from the Family Records Centre the certificates to look at. A little light reading on the journey. This is birth certificate for their firstborn, Herman, but it says 1894, date provided incorrect. Their firstborn was Herman on the 11th of June, 1893. Don't tell me it's not true. He was born June 1893, and they were married in April 1893. So she was in disgrace. She was 6 months pregnant, and they were waddling down the church aisle. You'd think they'd have kept themselves nice. But no. Oh, this is a big secret. I don't even know if Ivy knew this. The date I gave from my family tree, 1894. They just knocked a year off, clearly. They weren't too busy knocking each other off. Yes, it's like Tess of the D'Urberville, isn't it? You know, if you let yourself go and you took the consequences, it may well be that no one can remember any of Louisa's family having anything to do with them, and perhaps they just don't darken our door again.
At St Michael's Church in Thorpe-le-Soken, Father Jeremy is showing Julian the record of Louisa's baptism.
Do you mind your head?
I will do.
Well, these are the records, but I'm afraid before we can look at them, we have to put these gloves on.
Oh, I see. Are they
Before we
clean?
can touch them. Well, I haven't washed them personally, but they came from the County Records Office in Colchester, so they
gorgeous.
Probably are.
It's all the rage in Essex. Right. Is this an ancient book here, then?
It goes from 1861 to 1899. So what was the name again?
Moles. So...
And we need to go on a little bit from here.
1872.
This is 1870.
Right, 18...
Oh, there you are. Ah. That's the one. There's Martha Louisa.
Oh, that's my great-grandmother. George
and Pleasance.
Her parents?
Yeah, her mother was called Pleasance.
It's an unusual name, isn't it?
It's your family, not mine.
Pleasance. What would you call them for short? Pleasance. Ples. And that's her father's profession?
He was a carrier. He had a horse and cart.
Oh, is that what that means? Oh, it's great to see that, thank you.
Carriers were employed by railway companies to transport goods to and from the station. The wages were poor, so it's unlikely that Louisa's father was any better off than Herman. Julian can only assume that Louisa's pregnancy was the cause of her ostracism from her family.
It's like reading a jolly good novel. You know, I lie in bed at night speculating. Her wedding day, was that a desperate thing for her? Was it an embarrassing thing, being 6 months pregnant? Was it a joyful thing because she was marrying the man she wanted? The way I see it is that the marriage was disapproved of, but she was determined to do her own thing, like young women do, and she was going to marry him anyway, and she was going to live with him because she loved him. And it's a love story of sorts, and it's with a sad ending. My mother hangs out at the Bowls Club, which is a sort of youth club for the mature. And I want to find out about my other great-grandmother. I've quite got the taste for resurrecting people now. And I know very little about her. I know she was called Theresa, and she was fairly formidable, quite posh.
After discovering the poverty faced by his father's ancestors, Julian is keen to find out more about his mother's side of the family. In particular, his great-grandmother, Theresa.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Sorry to interrupt.
OK.
You know why I'm here?
Yes, I do. Nice of you to come.
Come with me.
That's my grandmother. She was somebody who was very fussy and particular and knew the correct way of doing things, which seems to have been transmitted to my mother. If you know what I mean, my mother knew the right way to set the table and the right way, manners and things were of utmost importance to her.
Yes. And I wasn't allowed to turn my fork over either, so that's...
Oh, of course.
That's something that's come from her, I should think.
From her side of the family, I just felt that there was some artistic trend. Well, that's what I'd like to
Thank
think.
goodness, because it's all rough, vulgar poverty on the other side.
Oh, well, I should not believe it if you come up with poverty and vulgarity on my side.
Well, I'm thrilled to know I've got a relative that had an air of class and sophistication. That sounds more like me. It's strange that no one knows what her own background was. Well, she swanned around being rather grand, but who knows, was she bred into that, or had she been to drama school or something to learn it all? That's a mystery that needs to be unravelled a bit.
Julian's sister Frances has found portraits of their great-grandmother Theresa and her husband Charles.
Right.
I'll put that there for you.
OK. Well, I thought you might be interested in this, seeing as you're doing this programme. Do you remember Grandma gave me these photographs?
Yes, I remember seeing them.
Sort of photograph paintings. So, this is Charles Long.
This is Charles, her gorgeous husband.
Yes, with a lovely moustache. And this is... Well, it says Charles as well.
No, she's Theresa.
Of course. It was him that signed it.
Fine figure of a woman.
Yeah.
She looks very intelligent.
I think she looks like she's got a bit of money as well. She certainly doesn't look poor, does she? Well, you wouldn't have a photograph, I suppose, a self-portrait.
Very cool looking.
I think slightly arrogant, actually, but I suppose the tilt of her head.
Posh.
Posh.
Julian's ordered his great-grandparents' marriage certificate in the hope it will reveal more about Theresa's family background.
(1881). Oh, on the 26th of December, Charles Edmund Long, who was 24, married Theresa Walter, who was 20, in Marylebone. He was a photographer. Oh, she was an artist. She was living in Circus Street in Marylebone. Very nice, too. He was from Cheltenham. It's a bit boring, isn't it? And her father, Peter Walter, was a hair merchant. An artist. Daughter of a hair merchant. Sounds like a euphemism. I think my mother would be pleased. It's the sort of thing she'd have hoped for. And marrying on Boxing Day, that sounds quite sort of a fun thing to do as well. And I don't think she was up the duff, which makes a change for some of my ancestors.
Julian's arranged to meet Alex Werner, an expert on Victorian London, to find out about Marylebone life in the 1880s.
Are you Alex?
Hello.
Hello there.
Yeah, hello, Julian. Nice
hello.
to meet you.
Is this St Mary's?
This is St Mary's, yes.
Well, good Lord. I used to live just up the road, and I never knew. This is according to the certificate, where my great-grandmother married my great-grandfather in 1881. St Mary's Church, that's here.
St Marylebone.
And I can't find in the A to Z where her address, Circus Street. There's a Circus Mews.
Right. Well, if you follow me, I think we might have found you something. Just near here. Now, if you just come over, you've just got to cross the road here.
OK.
Note the pub here on the left-hand side. And then just under Enford Street, can you
just
make it out?
Circus Street. So they just changed the name. Oh, it's charming. Is this it? So all she had to do was nip across the road in her frock. How lovely.
Now, one thing that we did here, we actually asked the owner whether we could get inside, and he's very kindly lent us the keys so we can go and have a look. If you like to have a look inside?
We don't have to make small talk with the owner.
No, no, no.
Yes.
Would you like to open the door?
Yes, that would be great. That would be a cheap thrill.
You have to turn it a couple of times.
It's very well kept, isn't it? She was an artist. Can you throw any light on what that would have meant?
This was a period when people were sort of wondering what professions women could take on. And an artist was one of the respectable professions for women. And if your father had enough money, she might well have been sent to a private art college or to one of the government colleges.
But this was a respectable neighbourhood, was it?
This is a sort of mixed area. It's on the edge of a very, very wealthy part of London. And you have to get sort of a sense of this being in a respectable area, yet one of the smaller streets, away from the very luxurious squares with these big, big houses around them. This is just a little bit to one side of that.
But it could have been a lot worse.
The daughter of a successful tradesman, Theresa would have come into contact with the Marylebone elite who lived just a few streets away. Nearby Hyde Park would have been the perfect place for Theresa to study her well-to-do neighbours and adopt their airs and graces.
It's one of those houses that's got a really lovely atmosphere to it. But it's great to see the same views out the windows and to think that she used to look through here and this is where she got ready to get married. And you can really, really feel and believe in her happiness. Unearthing all this material about long-lost relatives is a bit like giving birth, in a way. You know, if you produce a life, then you hope that it's going to be a happy one. And I've uncovered several stories that have not been entirely unhappy, but they've been tough, you know, and people have been in hospital and they've been desperately poor and they've been widowed and so on. This feels a bit more charming and, you know, like an old film, really.
Julian and Frances now want to find out where Theresa's family came from. So they look up the 1881 census.
Now, if you go online here, you can get the census. This is the 1881 census.
Yeah.
Which is the year she got married.
This is Theresa we're talking about, yeah?
This is our great-grandmother in Circus Street, and they lived at 22.
Peter is here. He's the head of the household. He's is that right? 57. He was a hair merchant, which we know. Where born.
Oh look, he was
German. Oh.
More Germans.
More Germans in the family.
The census shows that most of the family, including Theresa, were born in Trier in Germany.
Our mother won't be pleased. Well, we had no knowledge of that. You'd think Grandma would have known that her mother was from Germany.
Mind you, see, Grandma was very anti. You remember when we bought the dog? It was a German...
Fancy getting a German dog, yes.
And she was outraged that we had bought a German dog. And I think that obviously stems from the wars.
Either they knew or they didn't. I would say that they didn't know.
No.
Well, I hope the BBC is going to pay for our counselling. Auf Wiedersehen.
Julian's travelling to Trier to see if he can find any trace of his great-grandmother Theresa and of her parents, Peter and Catherine Walter.
This is something that's been kept quiet for generations. Well, I don't even know if my grandmother knew about it. But I know my mother didn't. she's been quite rude about my father's German blood. So, I don't know, chickens come home to roost, don't they? Well, for all I know, I could be rubbing shoulders with distant cousins now. Good afternoon. She was one, I think. I've come to the archive in Trier to see if I can find any trace of Theresa or Peter, her father.
So we have to look for her.
With the help of archivist Dr. Rainer Nolden, Julian finds Theresa's birth certificate.
And we just have to look here. On the 12th of January, in the night at 12 o'clock, there was born a child, and her name was Theresa.
Born at midnight?
Yeah. Well, that can happen. Well, she was Prussian and German. Well,
I said they were Prussian?
Prussian, yeah.
Oh, that sounds good.
Germany was a state, but it had several regions like Scotland and Wales and so on in England, but it was Prussia was part of Germany, Bavaria was part of Germany, Saxony was part of Germany, Hesse, and so on and so forth.
Right.
But Trier was Prussia.
Oh, good. That sounds quite glamorous.
If you think so.
The records also contain Theresa's parents' marriage registration.
This is Peter Walter again, and that's the lady, Katharina Grünhäuser. She was also...
Is it Pierre?
That's Pierre. It says Pierre. The birth register, he signs Peter, you know, and here he signed Pierre. And here's
Yes.
Katharina, and that's also a very good and trained hand. While here, that's obviously her father, Hubert Grünhäuser, and he was a bricklayer, and he had a very, very heavy hand.
He was drunk.
No. Not at 11 o'clock in the morning.
So lovely. I was just thinking, you know, 100 years before I was born, Peter, or Pierre as he's calling himself, was in this very town, signing his signature right here. And if he hadn't turned up that day, then I wouldn't be here. It's just a funny sort of series of events that leads to you. He had no knowledge of me at all, obviously. I had no knowledge of him till a few days ago. But there is a connection, a strange one. You find yourself in former Prussia, tracking him down.
In the early 1860s, Trier was in the grip of an economic depression. Julian's great-great-grandfather, Peter Walter, and his young family were among hundreds of Germans who trekked 300 miles on foot to the nearest port and boarded a ship to England.
Well, I can actually picture Peter getting ready to leave somehow. And it can't have been easy to leave, but he was clearly a very determined, ambitious man with a lot of self-confidence to say, right, we're going to set off for England now with wife and very small children, probably walking. And it's a very successful life he led, which is pleasing, you know, that he made up his mind that's where he was going to go, and then he built up a new trade and successfully raised his family, saw them all married. So he must have been quite a happy man, quite pleased with his lot, I think.
So, Julian's great-grandparents on both his father's and mother's sides had left Germany in search of a better life in Britain. Back from Trier, Julian's on his way to reveal all to his mother.
I did have this sort of unfair thought that I was arriving with bad news, but that's not fair. And it's not bad news at all, really. It's not like saying, Mother, I'm afraid I'm heterosexual. It's not nearly that bad, is it? Hello. Hello, dog.
Come here.
Now, I've got lots to tell you. I've
Yes.
got lots to report. There's nothing to worry about. About various dearly departed relatives. Your grandmother, Theresa, we investigated, and the first thing we found was her wedding certificate from 1881. On her wedding certificate, her profession is an artist.
Really?
Oh, you wanted an artist or an author or something, didn't you?
She was an artist. It's quite a refined occupation, isn't it, being an artist?
Yes, yes. I feel quite enlightened now as to... I knew nothing really about her at all.
Her father, Peter, was from Prussia.
Prussia?
Otherwise known as Germany.
Oh.
But there's more.
I don't know.
She was...
You don't mean Russia, do you?
No, but...
Russia would be... I might be related to Maxim Wegerhoff.
Well, Prussia,
yes, that's Germany.
But it is, but it's... And furthermore, she was born, Theresa was born in Germany. And when she was about between the ages of 2 and 4, the whole family came to England from a little place in Germany called, a rather beautiful place, because we've been there, called Trier.
Who's been there?
I was there yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yes, we all went for a trip. I mean, look, it's absolutely gorgeous, very ancient.
Well, it's a little bit more acceptable now. Yes, yeah. What did you do when you went there? You looked at...
We went to, like, the equivalent of the family records office.
Oh, yes.
And saw his signature, Peter so-and-so.
Did you?
Son of a construction worker. He married Katerina in 1859, 100 years before I was born.
Goodness.
They've got very efficient records there of everything.
Well, they would have.
Yes. Why did you never know that she was German?
Well,
Well, Grandma didn't mention it, did she?
I think it's the same old business as my family. Germans were out at that period of the war. I think there was a lot of hate, and so people didn't mention it. I imagine, anyway.
I think so. I think somewhere along the line someone decided we'll just keep quiet about this.
Well, I think I ought to go there.
Do you?
Yes.
I'll take you there. It's only a hop and a skip.
Right.
And you can come as well.
Thank you.
I thought she'd react exactly how she did, actually. And it's quite funny in a way, given that we've both been recorded on film with our misgivings, and it serves us right, really. I think that's what happens if you have a prejudice. You can't help but kind of, as you peer into the past, to think, is everything then inherited? Is everything sort of genetic? And I can see that I can see aspects of myself from all of these people. Maybe the sort of tenacity of Theresa and the oversensitivity of Jack, and all these feelings are stirred up for me that I will carry with me, really, for the rest of my days.